Hello, folks, and welcome to your Monday night show on Four Lads Had a Dream. I'm your host this evening, not the other Andrew, it's me, Andrew Stewart. And as usual, although it is Andy's line, I'll have to steal it. I'm joined by two of my favourite podders. First of all, Davie, how are you, mate?
I'm good, thank you very much. A weekend off. I don't know how I think about that, but good to be back on the show and a few things to look forward to.
A weekend off, yes, we'll maybe have to touch back on the reasons why as we get into tonight's show. But also, last but certainly not least, Kenny, how are you, mate?
I'm all good, thanks, mate. I hope too you're well. I've been a wee bit flustered, been a busy day, but just sat down about 20 minutes ago, so looking forward to this.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have a good time tonight. Interesting week ahead for us, obviously. Just before we crack on with tonight's show, just down below me, you'll see it there. Rhino Express, Cliveview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, CSD Air Conditioning, Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you, as always, for your support this season. Let's crack on then. As Davey had mentioned, unfortunately, we didn't have a game to play at the weekend. Upside to that is we've got a clean run at Thursday night's game. Davy, a massive second leg back home at Ibrox with a decent lead to work with. What's your thoughts heading into Thursday night's massive game?
Well, you know me. I'm a bit of a history buff, right? So history tells us that we're already through, and I'll and I'll explain that. 12 times we've played knockout games in Europe, away from home first, and won the away leg, and in all 12 of them we've qualified. In fact, there's only 3 games we didn't win in the returns. I'm sure you could name one of them because it was against a very famous German team a couple of years ago. But history says that the hard work's been done. But this is a Rangers team who've set history this season for all the wrong reasons. So I'm just hoping we don't write another black mark in our history books come Thursday night. How do I feel about it? I was actually pleasantly surprised with the way we set up last Thursday night. I thought it suited the players we've got better than the previous formation did. And I think that's a sort of template I would use going forward. And I think that if we keep it tight at the back, they've got to go at us. And I think if we can score the first goal, I'm quite confident if we can.
Scoring the first goal, Kenny. Yep. Ibrox, the last time round, it was against the Well. They scored two quite quite fast to start, and that was the end of that day, essentially. You know, we got one back, but it was kind of all downhill from there. If we concede too quick against Fenerbahçe, it could be a shaky night. But I have faith in the lads. What's your thoughts, Kenny?
Look, David's right. If we score early, I think that'll settle everybody down. The, Listen, they're a decent enough side. We've seen that they can create chances, and that's where, Barry Ferguson had hinted at it after the game. Ibrox has been a bit of a problem. It's different on a Thursday night, though. And the place will be bouncing and it will be rocking. And, if the what a carrot, to dangle in front of the players here. It's a quarter-final European tournament that you could be playing in again. And, how could you possibly foresee that with the way our seasons went? And, I just feel that this game will kind of hinge in the first 20 minutes. I genuinely do think we have to settle quickly and stamp our authority on the game. I thought we actually started really quite well last week. And I know we scored early, but even before we scored, I thought we had just put the ball down and played it about. Some of our passing was fantastic. And it's that kind of thing that we need to do. We don't need to go chasing this game, but I would like to see us go for the throat at the start. When you get the ball, go forward with real purpose, motive, and pace, and try and create it then. Because for all that, as I say, I think they're a good side. I think they look really ropey at the back, and you could get at them, and they didn't They weren't blessed with great pace at the back either, I didn't think. So that's where I would be wanting to kind of exploit, their weakness is that I thought back in middle, I mean, they've got some really talented players, don't get me wrong, but I genuinely feel that we have gaps in there that we can exploit quite purposefully if we can go about a game in the right manner. Again, it just depends on what Rangers are turned up with, doesn't it, guys? It is, we've watched it week in, week out. We don't know what we're getting from game to game. So here's hoping that good Rangers turn up on Thursday. That's what I'm hoping for. That we turn up and put them back in their box, so to speak, and see Josie packing and say bye-bye. Thanks for the entertainment, matey.
Yeah, I think the nerves will start to kick in with me in the next. I'm going to say it's only Monday as we're recording this. I think Tuesday afternoon, I'd say tomorrow afternoon, it will start to maybe creep in the nerves. But we're here now, we're in it, and if we want to look ahead, I suppose we can. Again, we're not going to say it's done and dusted because we've seen this Rangers team this season. Some great, incredible moments, especially in the European front, but also some real stinkers is the best way I can. It's a nice way of saying what I'm really thinking with some of the results we've had this season. I suppose in looking forward, the next round would be AS Roma or Athletic Bilbao, obviously the host city, I think, this year round. Davie, it's one where it's a 2-1. It was a late winner for Roma. It's one of these where, although you can kind of have one eye on it, we certainly can't be dropping the ball.
I'll be honest with you, I haven't even thought about the next round. I sincerely hope none of the players or the staff at Rangers are actually thinking about the next round either, because as Kenny says, I don't think we're in a position the way we've played this season to look too far beyond the next game, to be honest. Actually, if I did talk about Roma and Bilbao for 30 seconds, what I would say about it is the reason I don't care who wins is because I've never seen Rangers play either of them. And I usually like to see somebody new. And this is actually a draw that's given us the chance of, no matter who it is, we'll see somebody new. I'm quite sure a lot of guys would like to go to Rome for various reasons. But yeah, it wouldn't bother me. It wouldn't bother me who it was. But I think it's more important Thursday than it is looking too far forward, I think. I agree with Kenny about the early goal, but I also think there's a few questions on about team selection as well that I'd be interested in seeing. So I've banged on a couple of times when I've been on this pod about I don't like Yilmaz at right back at all. I know we get away with it a couple of times, but it feels like you get away with it rather than anything else. Sterling came on and he looked like a right back. He actually looked like a right back. I can't think of a single reason in the world why Yilmaz would play at right back in Thursday. But I can think of a few reasons to play him at left back. Because we're a 2-goal lead. If we don't concede twice, we're through. So for me, you play your best two defensive fullbacks. And when we've not got the ball, you've got what I think is going to be a 5 at the back. So I would probably play him at left back. Other than that, I think the team kind of picks itself a little bit. I don't see Dessers getting dropped after last Thursday. I don't see Czerny not playing. I don't see the midfield 3 not starting again. I don't see Balogun not starting. And I'm assuming Proper's out anyway because he got concussion, didn't he? So I don't think we'll see him. I don't think he's allowed to play. So I think the rest of the team picks itself. I think it's just the 2 fullback positions. And for me, I would play Sterling on the right and Yilmaz on the left.
Kenny, we've seen that obviously. We'd seen Leon come on against Motherwell and instantly look like the best centre half that we had, as he always does. He tends to just have that calming effect, or just the I'm so much better than whoever I'm also partnered with at centre back. It was the way in which he was introduced to the first leg was not ideal, I believe, is the way the manager would probably have said it was, given there was the talk beforehand. There was a bit of tightness for Leon in the morning leading up to the game, which was ruling him out from the start. You then have Robin Proper being thunderbolted by his own keeper, unfortunately.
Assaulted.
Yeah. Balogun comes in and he just does what he does for the rest of the game. Looks assured in that three, Suter, Leon and Tav. Again, although there was a lot of talk about Suter and Balogun's performance, I think Tav was equally solid when asked to defend. But as Davie said, Yilmaz and also Dujon Sterling, we kind of did mention Dujon in the instant reaction and on the Friday show that he empties his pockets after that match and he's got St. Maximin's stupid Gucci headband because he absolutely pocketed them as soon as he came onto the park. We spoke about his influence and just the ability to nullify the player who was putting us under a lot of pressure. For me, I think as Davie said, you need to have your two best options in those areas starting, especially as Davie said, for the defensive duties they'll have to do. If it's going to be an all-out assault, which it may be for Fenerbahçe to try and put the pressure on, then I think having a solid base will do us no problems.
Yeah, but listen, I agree with Dave and yourself there. I think he will keep the same formation. I think he will play with the three centre halves. One thing that talking about Big Dujon Sterling, what he did, he was on the park no more than 20 seconds and he clattered right into San Maximum. And you could tell right there and then the big guy didn't fancy it. It was quite funny because there was a couple of times he got one-on-one with him and he cut back instantly before the physical challenge came in. So that was noted, and I'm sure our manager would have noted that as well. The problem with Sterling is he going to be fit enough? We don't know. I would have him at right back. I've been saying this all season. I would have him at right back anyway if he's fit, but he's not, and that is part of the issue. That his fitness is clearly, he's been here 2 seasons now, and it's clearly an issue that we need to get to the bottom of. And I understand that he had was it a break in his shin or something like that, if I remember right. You can correct me if I'm wrong there. But if he's fit, play him on Thursday. That's what I would say. I also happen to think what you're saying there about Tavernier. I totally agree. Again, special mention for Tav last Thursday, because it might be if we do end up playing with 3 at the back, then there is a position for him there, because he's one thing that I've always been critical on the 10 years he's been here is defensively. I think you can get him behind him far too easily. You're not going to get him behind him at centre half. So therefore, his physicality and his, because he is a strong upper body and things like that, that he's good in the air. He can take the ball out. He can pass the ball. And his positional sense at centre half, anytime we've seen him there, has been excellent. So I think I tend to agree with you. I'm not sure about Yilmaz or Yefti. I think that's open to debate. I can understand why Davie's saying he would play Yilmaz, because Yefti's gone right off the boil. But I do think that Yefti physically getting forward has got more about him. So I don't. It's one of those. Do you wait up? But apart from that, I kind of tend to agree. The only thing that you might see changing, and I'm not sure he will, is that Egeman might play somewhere, but I'm not sure he will. I tend to agree again with you guys. I think Cyril Dessers did enough on Thursday to. You'd be crazy to drop him, actually, if he, because you've got Egeman on the bench, you'll have Danilo on the bench, so we've got plenty of options. So I think it'll be more of the same. I do. And the reason I mentioned the Roma and Bilbao is because I actually watched the game, and the first half was rotten. Actually, it was a terrible game of football. Just nothing happened. But the second half started with Bilbao scoring, and it really just lit the game, and it was actually a really decent game the second half. But again, if and we have no right to say anything other than if here. So, people, please don't think we're getting carried away. But I'll tell you what, I'll enjoy either game because they're both good sides. They're both top 5 league sides. And we'll go in as underdogs, but that kind of suits us if we can get through on Thursday. And I must admit, I quite fancy Roma. I think they're a quality side, and let's go and pit ourselves against them. I've got a funny feeling Roma will get through. I think they just had a little bit more about them, and they'll probably get through, but it'll be tight because there was very little in it in the first leg, to be fair. But I'm looking forward to Thursday, I have to say, guys, and it'll be interesting, to see what Barry does. Is he going to throw a curveball and change the formation again? I have no idea, but I got a funny feeling he'll stick with what worked and worked so well last Thursday, because that's up there with any of our best performances this season.
I would say I was looking at it today, and it'll be another interesting dugout matchup if he gets through, either a Valverde or Mr. Dilly Ding Dilly Dong, come on, Ranieri. I think it would be an interesting lineup having both of those in the dugouts. But I said, still very far down the road. We'll keep our eye on Thursday. Moving on, I suppose we've kind of covered the game. We'll obviously hear a wee bit more, obviously with the press conferences beforehand, but as we kind of just mentioned, the man in the dugout, that seems to be a conversation that seems to be getting a lot of opinions. I think, and you'll see on Twitter, lots of different takes on who's the next man for the hot seat. I think there's the big question mark of your interim boss at the minute. A certain person's Instagram story, I think is a lot of people have commented. I think Gerrard's Instagram and Company's House notifications is what's going to tide us over for the next couple of months. But Steven Gerrard, we may as well just talk about it, Davie. It's one of these where I've heard yes, I've heard no, and I've seen both dramatic sides of both of those arguments. I've seen so many people, telling everything brilliant about Steven Gerrard and his time at the club in the 55 season, but I've also seen a lot of people saying absolutely not, we're not having this again, you don't go back. It's a very interesting debate. I think, given some of the names we have seen, the big talk about Rafa Benitez, I don't know where I sit personally. I think there's too much football in terms of you could even scope out the man you've got currently. As a debate potentially to be had there. So it's hard to just write them off. So it's hard to look at externals at the moment. But when you're looking elsewhere, Steven Gerrard seems to be the one that isn't going away, as we've seen in the last few days.
Yeah, I'm not sure where I sit in the Gerrard question either. I think if we were absolutely guaranteed to have the same hunger from him, the same desire to succeed that he had the first time, and he was willing to commit for a length of time, no matter what happened elsewhere, then there's definitely an attraction in there for me. Because the guy's a born leader. He's a figurehead. He's a winner, and he had this great contempt for Celtic that I just wish more people at Ibrox had. So I think there's a lot of boxes he ticks, but I keep going back to this bit about when he got the job, nobody saw it coming, and so when we talk about who else might be getting considered, there might be another one of these bolts of the blue that we haven't even thought of who it is. The names I'm seeing at the moment, Benitez or Sean Dyche or Gerrard sits above any of them for me, for various reasons. But that doesn't mean to say he's the best person there. But what I will say is that it certainly can succeed second time around. I wouldn't worry about that. I think there's a very, very famous example of a manager that came back to Ibrox for a second time and just absolutely dominated again. So there's no reason why it can't succeed twice if the same hunger and desire and will to succeed is there that was the first time. So do I want Gerrard? Maybe. but as long as it's the same guy.
I think that is, as we discussed, Benitez, it's difficult because we've seen a slightly flashier appointment, a European manager with a decent CV, and we thought, come on, and it just didn't work out for him. So having Gerrard, who we have seen before, knows what he's going to get into straight away in terms of opponents, league, styles of play that teams play against Rangers. He's been there and he's done it. It almost seems like a safe appointment, or as safe as you can kind of get in terms of they know what they're coming into and having kind of been there before. That being said, is it at all what our new takeover crew will have any consideration for? Will they have a name already? It's so difficult to speculate in these, Kenny, because we can sit here, as Davie said, we can sit and say this is a man, he's done, he's dusted, and then you can have a Gerrard situation all over again where it just seems to happen in the blink of an eye. I have a lot of admiration for the man. I think we played some really, really good football in that title winning season across domestic and also in the European competitions in the season beforehand as well, building up that European reputation again. I think a lot of the modern day European success comes from that Gerrard blueprint of we're going to go out and we're going to give it a go in Europe, having that fearless mentality. I think that comes from those early Gerrard teams. So I'm not opposed to it. I'm not in the hell no camp, but I'd like to see what else the takeover can bring us and what they think.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, the one thing about Gerrard's team, that they were the fittest team in the league. Year in, year out, they were the fittest team in the league. And for me, to be perfectly honest about it, that's been a little bit of an issue for me when you watch Rangers over the last few years. They're not the fittest team in this league. So that needs addressed regardless to who is going to come in. But the one thing... listen, we don't know if Gerrard's coming back or not. As you say, the new owners might well, you guys would have heard this as well, sorry, but the rumour I'd heard is that the sporting director and the manager will basically be coming in together, and the management team will be coming in together, is what I was kind of informed of a wee while back. Whether that's true or not, who knows? It's just a rumour. But the thing that I would say about Gerrard is that he will probably look at this himself and the way that he left, and I probably feel he will probably feel, I beg your pardon, that he has unfinished business here. So Davie made a brilliant point. If he's still got that hunger and the drive to succeed, he was a wealthy man before he went to Saudi Arabia. He's an incredibly wealthy man now. And you know what it's like, guys, that the hunger can evaporate sometimes with these guys. You can see it, and they just don't have the energy sometimes. But I have a funny feeling, again, that Davie's made a wonderful point. And as I said, to cap or to add to what Davie said and me, saying that I think he's got unfinished business, he did not like them across the city at all. And it will probably be annoying and irking the bejesus out of him that they're so dominant at the minute. So listen, whether it's him or not, we'll wait and see. I'm not against it. I'm not 100% certain how I feel about it. Davie's made wonderful points there about, how you weigh it up and does he have that hunger and drive. But again, I'm talking about Davie again, but I tend to agree with him. I think if you look at the other names getting mentioned, you can stick Sean Dyche wherever, but not here. Russell Martin, I had seen mentioned. Listen, we've had possession-based football managers for the past 3 years, and look where that's got us. Absolutely nowhere. So no thank you. What I want is a structure and a team that plays fast, energetic, driven football with a purpose. And that is the one thing that Steven Gerrard, I absolutely loved the shape of our team and how everybody knew their job and everybody knew what everybody else's job was and where they were going to be. You look at that midfield that he built, where, you know, he'd actually play some of them out of shape, and Aribo would go on one side or Glenn Kamara would go the other. But the minute one went forward, they would just all shape in, and it was fantastic. The way Ryan Jack would cover for Tav, very tactically aware guy. So I'm not against it. Whether it happens or not, we'll wait and see. But out of the names that we have been hearing, he would probably be my preferred choice, to be honest, at the minute.
All depends on whether or not Ryan Kent can get his alligator back to Glasgow. Who knows? That's a big hold up. If he can get through customs with that thing, fair play to him. Again, as we said, it's Wednesday with the press conference will be another big source of news. Only other thing that's really happened, I suppose, today we had another notification from Companies House, but if we feel from if this will be the last time, as they stated, I think it's 5.3 million worth of shares that can be authorised, was authorised via the last AGM. I think that, again, this is just, Davie, another kind of notification that there is a lot of movement in terms of, you know, the exit strategy for some of these people in the positions, the higher up positions at the club, and get themselves in a better position to move on. I think we'd seen some of them before. It seemed to kick off the news the last time when they had the Companies House notification, but I think this is more bread and butter, in kind of accordance to where we're kind of going and what the forecast is as to where we're going in terms of this takeover. But it's interesting nonetheless that, again, as they keep saying across the city, this wasn't happening apparently. There was nothing in this whole takeover. Nothing's happening at all. In fact, there's absolutely zero interest from the 49ers enterprises, and it's nothing happening. So a lot happening for very little happening, Davey.
Yeah, well, I'm entirely the wrong person to start talking about the business side of football, but my incredibly uneducated guess in the whole thing that was announced today, I think it's just the same as what we've been seeing for now a number of years, which is shareholder debt, investors who have loaned the club money to keep it going, turn it into shares. That when it gets turned, and it sounds as if this time they have turned the maximum amount of shares that they can for the year already, and we're only in March, which sounds to me as if there's a number of investors out there who have got Rangers owing them money. They turn it into shares. They're getting the shares now because they're expecting to sell those shares quite soon, probably for a bit more than they're getting them for today. So I think it's just another sign that things are moving towards new ownership, and that express train is not going to stop.
Yeah, it's another one of these where, you know, it doesn't say too much, but it's another positive step in the right direction. There's definitely a lot, you know, many more steps to be taken on this path, Kenny. But again, it's another reassuring sign. I know as a support, we've got a right to be incredibly nervous when it comes to these kind of dealings, and you know, this can be a scary time. We've seen it in the past, the false dawns and promises, but I think we're heading in the right direction.
Look, mate, I'll wait for Celtic Twitter to tell us what's going on, because they know way better than we do, apparently, don't they? So, you know, look, Davey's right. It's, you know, they said that it was 8 point whatever million that they, you know, of pounds worth of shares that they could print effectively, and they've done that very, very quickly from the AGM. So, you know, could they have another EGM and a very quick EGM before the end of the season and say, look, this is what we're going to do. Can we convert all loans to shares, and ask the shareholders? And the shareholders would absolutely be delighted if they did. And we were, without being too rude about it, we were seeing the end of this regime and the beginning of a new one. So look, who knows? But I think it is just exactly what our Andy McKellar had said to us, wasn't it? That it's the maximum amount. It's been done. It's getting done early, and it looks to me as if that's what they're doing. They're converting debt to equity, and they're going to make more money on their shares than they would on the loan. So it makes perfect sense for these guys to do that, and fair play to them. As I say, every single one of them, if and when this does happen, they go with my very best and sincerest wishes, because they stood up when plenty wouldn't, and that shouldn't be forgotten, and it will never be forgotten. But there was people out there that could have stepped up that didn't, mate, and that's where, as I say, if it all does come to pass, then, as I say, fair play. But when it comes to this kind of thing, I'm every bit as uneducated as Davie is up there, because I don't really know. We should have got Andy McKellar on instead of me tonight, put it that way, because he'll be able to tell you in great detail.
Yeah, and it's just this came out this afternoon, so a kind of quick reactionary shout to it. Again, also this afternoon, the Rangers B team played at the training centre against Crystal Palace in a similar kind of age range matchup. We've seen some of the more notable names in the team. Clinton Ciala played. Oscar Cortez got some minutes, and we'll wait to see what the doctor's report on that is when he gets out of A&E this evening. Bailey Rice played also a short cameo for Rafa Fernandez as well, I do believe. I think this is more like there was Ross McCausland in there as well. Some guys obviously have got more of a shout to the European squad for Thursday than others. Obviously, Cortez is out, Fernandez is out. He wasn't out; he never got in the first place. But I think it's more just keeping these guys ticking over more than anything for the youngsters. Rice, I suppose, Curtis maybe getting in and off the bench if called upon, but mostly just guys getting time in the legs for Scottish domestic action. One of these games where when you've got not much else to play for, unfortunately, as we've said, Davie, obviously we had the time off because we were out of the cup. Kind of just ticking over time, unfortunately, which in itself, although we can get so hyped, or I can get hyped about a European tie like Thursday night, it's going to be back to normal at the weekend.
Yeah, I think it's no doubt it was just about getting minutes into legs. I think it was good to see Ciala back on a football pitch again, actually. I think after what happened at Kilmarnock, I think it'd be good to get him some time on the pitch, get a wee bit of confidence back in again in case he's required, because he is in the European squad. And if you're going to play three at the back and something happens to one of the centre backs and Thursday night, there's every chance he's the one that we get called onto the pitch. So I think of all the players that you mentioned there, he's the one that I'm most happy to see got some time today. Cortez, if we're going to end up spending $4 million on him, then we've got to persevere. I know we keep making all these jokes about all his injuries he's gotten, but wouldn't it be good if we could get some kind of run between now and May, so that we've got an idea if we are buying what we're actually buying? Because I've actually forgot how good or bad a player he is. It's that long ago since I've seen him. But certainly a winger, a fast winger. I don't know if we're going to be able to keep a hold of Cherney. So if there's another winger on that's available that we're going to be buying, who might have some goals in him, then let's see what he's like.
Yeah, Kenny, I know I poke fun at Oscar there, but it's very much if you don't laugh, you cry. You want the lad to be a success at Rangers, especially, as David said, with the price tag attached to him. You know, we did see those kind of glimpses of the player that we hoped we had signed. He's obviously been struck down with the Rangers injury bug. Just unfortunate for the lad. I would, and I said at the time, so this is not post Clement criticism. I thought when we chucked him in at the start of the season, you could tell the boy wasn't ready, and I think, again, I'm not going to pin all the blame on Clement. I thought it was the wrong decision to fling him in. I think it was Murrayfield. I started to watch him and I went, A, he's not fit, and B, I don't think he is ready to be playing the contact game. But it's a case of time will tell with him. And as Davey said, it would be nice to see him get a string of games before the end of the season and maybe keep him around for if Journey's not going to be with us post this season.
Well, in terms of Phil Clement, I agree with you exactly. At the start of the pre-season, you could tell he wasn't ready. He wasn't fit. And for a guy in Clement that was so influenced by sports science. It seemed a strange one to me, for him to do that, because he clearly is a fragile. He was fragile in the pre-season. You could see it. And listen, this lad has had two terrible, terrible injuries since he came to us. He's been here, year and a half, nearly now, and just over a year. But he's not had, bar maybe 7 or 8 games at the start when he first got here on loan. He's not had a run at all, so we cannot possibly tell. There was clearly a talented kid in there. Yeah, but you don't know how talented kids progress. You just don't know. They could look like world beaters at 17 and nowhere near top level professional football by the time they hit 20. So you just don't know with kids. So we'll need to wait and see what happens with him in terms of Bailey Rice. I like that boy. I think he's a fantastic young player. So good to keep him ticking over. He'll be in the squad for Thursday and Sunday, no doubt. Not sure about Oscar Cortez at all in terms of Sunday. Is he going to be in the squad? I genuinely don't know. In terms of NCL, Davie's bang on again. Just get the boy out in the football pitch, get him, iron out those, horror shows and, that'll be stuck in his head, because you know yourself, if you play football, that when you make mistakes and you don't play for a couple of weeks, they just sit there. It's the last thing that's happened to you, And he had the humiliation of being taken, substituted off early, and you've got to feel for the kid, because again, bar that at Kilmarnock and the St Mirren game where he had a horror show against St Mirren at Ibrox, he'd stood up quite well, hadn't he? I thought he looked all right, but he's a young kid and he's going to make mistakes, particularly in that position. The minute you hesitate in that position, you will get found out, particularly in our league, because there's big 6'2", 6'3" battering rams that will make sure that you feel it. So nice to see them getting minutes. What that all means, again, I think it is literally just making sure these guys that are in and around the squad are ticking over, probably with the intention of knowing that they're not going to be playing on Thursday, and this is the opportunity to get them on the pitch and running about, basically, Andrew. But a good result, though.
Yep. Yeah, it was a 1-0 win. Callum Adamson with the goal. So yeah, a good performance, a good result for the young lads, the junior Bears. Especially with the whole post B team collapse, these kind of games take on a different relevance of sorts. But I believe we'll wrap it up there tonight, folks. Good chat about Fenerbahçe and beyond, as the title suggests. But until next time, I hope that you had a decent time listening in today. And last but not least, I'll thank my guests. First of all, Davie, thank you for coming on tonight, mate.
My pleasure. And obviously, if my historical start ends up going completely tits up when something goes wrong on Thursday, I'll probably be banned from here for about at least a month after that, I would think. But I'm confident that we'll be talking about Bilbao or Roma this time next week.
Fingers crossed. I've got faith in the lads. And as always, last but by very, very no means least, Kenny, thank you for coming on, mate.
Not at all. Thank you, Andrew. Thanks, Davie. A couple of wee mentions. One for a young lad called Jade, who is a Mad Rangers fan that watches the show. Wee boy of 13 that I get talked about today. And a special mention to the viewers and listeners and the team on here, guys. The team on here is as good as it's ever been. In fact, it's probably better than it's ever been. And with the subscribers and the viewers and the listeners and the numbers are just going up and up and up. So we're all delighted over here. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I'll just jump on the bandwagon with what Kenny said, because he certainly set it in motion. Thank you very much for tuning in. Your likes, your comments, your subscriptions, the membership panel as well. It's absolutely going through the roof at the minute, and it's very, very much appreciated. Long may it continue. If you have a comment on tonight's show, by all means, chuck it in the comments, and we'll we'll get in touch and see what if we are on the same wavelength. But until next time, there'll be more on the channel as always. Hopefully talking to you on Friday after a progression in the Europa League. But until next time, I've been Andrew this evening, and thank you for joining me. Have a good one. Goodbye.
Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clyde Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, along with Art of Gold. Thank you for listening or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.